everyone. So in my last video, I actually walked you through Neuro-Schema, which is my architecture which I'm designing, in which the AI agents will be able to self-learn and self-evolve themselves without the least intervention of humans. So in today's video, I'll actually walk you through the entire process of how I'm giving the voice to my AI agent, which is the LLM at its core. So let's walk through the whole process. Alright, so in my last video, as you all know, we talked about these things. This was the core principle or the foundation of how Neuroschema would look like in its core, which consists of the core identity matrix, memory systems, behavioral policy system, self-evolution layer, and metacognition. I have actually explained all this stuff in my previous video. You can go and watch it to understand this better. In this video, I'll actually show you how the whole process of the LLM or the AI agent actually learning on its own and then reflecting whatever it learned on will actually look like on paper. Alright, so the step one starts with the activation. Activation is like whenever you just fired up the AI agent. Once it's fired up, the first thing that the AI agent will do is load the identity matrix. Now, as you all know, the identity matrix is just a JSON file, or it's like a document or a text file where it will consist all the core features that I actually programmed it to be. Right, and then this will actually set the tone for everything, which actually means like it will actually set the personality of how the AI agent will talk to you. Okay, the model is selected like depending on the tone or the personality that you want to talk to. Different models actually will be what we say actually will be built, and then based on that one particular model, depending on the way that you want to talk to, will actually fire up. All right, and then this starts listening to you, or like just taking inputs from everything that's around it, around itself. Okay, so like you want to talk to it, or you like write texts to it, or like it hears you, or it listens to you, or it sees you as well. So this I have termed as sensory input output, because it can basically sense everything and anything that's around it. All right, and mostly if I talk on technical terms, it will be mostly based on vision, text, images, voice, speech. These are the things. All right, once it takes some kind of an input, for example, you actually talked with the assistant like, hey, good morning, this was input from your end. All right, and then it will actually take that decision, take that input, and then make it flow into the decision making procedure or the behavioral policy engine. Here the behavioral policy engine will fire up and it will take the action that is required. Like it will take that action, like what it should respond to the particular input that you provided with. Like you said, hey, good morning, so it should actually respond subtly based on the personality that I actually gave it. So here I have written that takes action guided by identity, memory, current state, and past experiences. Here identity means your personality, memory means like any other instances that in the way that you have communicated with it. So it might draw references from that particular incident, that okay, my user wants me to greet him in this particular manner, so it has already learned like in this way. If it has some kind of a memory remaining, and the current state, like the current model or the current scenario or the current mood that you actually greet him or greet it, and some past expenses, the same as the memory thing. All right, once it takes the decision and like gives you the output, that particular input output set, like you talked it to it once, and then the AI also talked back to you once. So this particular input output set is actually watched over by something called a watchdog. Now this watchdog, I already explained this in my previous video, that this is just a supervising agent which will actually keep a track of everything and anything that you talk with your AI agent, which will actually take account for all these conversations and then use these particular conversations to basically reflect and retrain your model at night or in the sleep cycle. I'll get back to it later on. Alright, so this is the store and reflect phase. Here, as I already said, all actions are logged and unusual actions are flagged. Now, what do you mean by unusual actions? Unusual actions might be something like, for example, you told the assistant like, no, you are going wrong here. So that particular input and that particular output that the assistant gave you, like you might not be happy with the output that the assistant gave you. All right, so that particular input concept and that particular output set is actually flagged by the watchdog, that okay, here in this particular concept, I need to retrain myself so that my user actually benefits from this. Okay, so this is a reward based system commonly used in reinforcement learning. All right, so this is the store and reflect phases. Here everything, every kind of a conversation that you're actually having with your assistant, it's actually stored in some kind of a vector database or any kind of a compressed format, so that it continuously can keep a track of everything that is actually going on with you. All right, and then once this it's done, this is like a to and fro motion, like you are giving it input, this is producing output, and this is again getting reflected and stored. All right, once you are done with a conversation, for example, like you did a conversation throughout the day, and then once when this falls into its rest cycle, like the cycle in which it will train itself, then it starts with the self evolution layer. The self evolution layer fires up where it reviews everything that happened today. Everything that happened today is something like it will review all the logs, all the memory schemes that you actually talked with. Okay, everything, every kind of an input that you gave it, every kind of an output that the assistant produced, and the flagged ones event that actually where you actually marked the assistant that no, don't go this way, do this way. All right, and then based on the reviews, it actually proposes smaller changes to like temperature variables. For example, it might seem like the assistance was quite low on confidence in its responses, so the watchdog will actually say that you were not pretty confident on the responses that you produced. So what it will do is it will create a small patch or a patch request in the source code that okay, the confidence that is set to, for example, say it is set to a variable of 0.75. All right, you need to actually increase it and set it to 0.80. So this is a patch kind of a thing that will actually we need to implement in the source code. Okay, and then that particular thing is reviewed again by the human itself. Like in the initial stages, I'll be the one reviewing these things because otherwise there comes a safety factor in this. Okay, so I review that patches. Okay, and then that exact thing, like the confidence is like again rescheduled and like updated, and then it creates a new instance of the model overnight so that everything slowly and steadily adapts to the user. So this happens every night. The retrain process and the reflect process happens every night whenever the assistant gets into a rest cycle. And then eventually after certain days or certain months, slowly and steadily, if the pattern continues for days, okay, the identity matrix updates eventually. Like the code values that I actually programmed it for, it will slowly and steadily change itself. Like I programmed it for to be confident around 0.80, but the way you actually talk to the assistant, you actually want a confidence above 0.9. Okay, so slowly and steadily, that confidence will be from 0.80 will be updated to 0.90, and then again this whole loops again starts every day, like every day when you're interacting. So this was kind of a basic infrastructure or architecture that I thought that this might kind of mimic the way that we humans actually learn. All right, so this was how neural schema or like neuro-schema enabled AI systems will actually look like. Okay, now comes the LLM part. Now LLM I'm using just for as a base. Like I can't create a whole large language model on my own for this project. So just to test my prototype, I am taking a Tiny Dolphin, which is a 1.1 billion parameter model. Quite small because I have just 4 gigs of VRAM on my system. So I can't train something which is kind of huge. Like I tried first with I guess Mistral. Yeah, Mistral 7 million parameter, which is a huge model around 4.9 gigs of storage and around 12 gigs of VRAM it requires. So I guess that's not possible on my system to train. So yes, and to be really honest, the kind of resource limits that I currently have, I actually had to come up with something which is both less resource extensive and also works the way that I actually wanted to. So I came up with this plan. Okay, so we're taking two instances, like one is the cloud and one is the local. Cloud being something where we something called Google Cloud, like Collab, Amazon, everything that servers that we can basically rent on cloud. And there comes this local which is my system. My system consists of RTX 3060, I guess 3050, yeah, RTX 3050. All right. So what I'll do is, for example, I downloaded the Tiny Dolphin model. Okay, and then it is kept locally on my system. Now there's a thing called inferencing is like whenever you want to talk to your assistant. Okay, if you do it with the base model, which we for this video will call the transformer model. Okay, directly downloaded from Hugging Face. Hugging Face is like a hub for all kinds of model. It's like a marketplace for every kind of machine learning models. Okay, so if you directly try to infer the transformer models, it will take a huge amount of time and will take huge loads on your system. So to actually combat that, I came up with the idea of quantization. Now quantization is a machine learning concept where you can actually freeze the model. Like imagine you have a bigger model of around 4.9 gigs, and then you actually freeze that model or compress that model to a smaller size in which you can just infer with that model. You can't train it, you can't do anything or like change its parameters. It can be just used for inference. Okay, so in the first step, what I actually do is I downloaded the model locally and then I actually quantized it. Okay, and then this quantized model is used for the inference. Everything that we do, everything that is like the whole process that I actually explained over here. Okay, this whole process is actually done through a quantized model, quantized version of teeny dolphin. Okay, now when the sleep cycle kicks in, everything like model insights, reports, and everything, the data that actually Watchdog collected throughout the day is passed on to the cloud along with the transformer model. Not the quantized model, the transformer model, the base model that we downloaded from Hugging Face. Okay, now in the cloud, the LLM gets fine-tuned. Like the whole retraining process, like fine-tuning a model, fine-tuning even a smaller model like Tiny Dolphin takes huge amount of resources. So I thought, why not do it on the cloud? Okay, so the whole fine-tuning of the model, like updating each kind of weights, maybe I'll be using LoRa and CLoRa adapters. All right, so every kind of fine-tuning is done on the cloud. Okay, here the model actually learns, self-evaluates itself, and everything is done over here. Then this fine-tuned model, like Tiny Dolphin now got fine-tuned. Okay, let's imagine that Tiny Dolphin was on version 0, and after fine-tuning it came to a version 1. Okay, now that version 1 of that model is again quantized, because I can't again directly infer with the base model. I need to actually quantize it so that the inference becomes quite smoother, right? So that quantized model is again, like the base model is again quantized in F16 or Q5. Like F16 and Q5 are the what do we say, F16 and Q5 are the actual weights or the actual quantities or the sizes in which you want to compress your model. F16 being something which is also called float 16, like it tries to retain its original quality without draining much of its size. It's like the best quality that you can get of a quantized model is from F16, and Q5 is like a 5-bit integer. Okay, so here the quantity, like the quality drops a bit as compared to F16, but it's way more than Q4, which is kind of common in many large language models. Like if I would have been using Mistral, I would have gone with Q4, but still it takes a huge loads on my system. All right, so here the model is quantized again, and then that quantized model is saved locally on my device for inferencing. So whenever it wakes up, like whenever I wake up or the assistant wakes up and gets ready for inferencing again, here it inferences throughout the user. Like the inferencing is done by the user throughout the day, as we already discussed. Watchdog supervises while the user interacts, and then everything, all inputs, messages, texts, interactions are post-processed and made ready to be evaluated and trained on principle of selectivity. Principle of selectivity means not every kind of input will be trained on, like the model will not be trained on every input that the user actually gave it. I'll actually assign weights or like priority to something, like it like something like good morning did not be trained as much as something where you talked something sensitive to your assistant, right? So I'll actually determine the priority of in which the data needs to be trained, and then on that particular set of data our model will be trained. So this is the principle of selectivity. Okay, and then this whole thing will again pass on to the cloud, and this whole cycle goes on. So this was all about how I'm planning the architecture, how I'm planning the pipeline of the whole thing to actually look like. All right. The code I have written is currently live on my GitHub. You can visit this link. I'll attach this link below in the description box. You can go and see to it. Like here, when you come to the code thing, the code folder, and inside the LLM wrapper, here is everything like model config.yml. This is the basically the model config. Like I am using Tiny Llama. I need to actually change this. Like this is not Tiny Llama anymore. Actually, I'm using Tiny Dolphin. Okay. The quant type is F16 as I already described to you, and this gguf format is the quantized file format that we are gonna use for the inference or everything that I talked about currently. All right. So this is the quantized LLM.py. This actually goes and like loads the model, loads a quantized model in your system, ready, making it ready for inferencing. This is like this generate function and everything is the thing which actually makes it possible for you to interact with the assistant. Okay. And there comes this transformer LLM.py, where actually the whole of the transform model is loaded and like downloaded on your system. Everything is done here. All right. And then here comes the wrapper.py, which is just like a switch for a switch, like how the model should switch to the transform model, when should the model switch to quantized model. This is like a main.py app where it will actually switch between the different models. All right. And this is all about it. I guess the LLM wrapper is this much only. And here comes the identity. I'm still writing the identity, and I'll talk about identity code metrics in my next video. Okay, just a quick reference. This code metrics.yaml is like the JSON format that I was talking about. Here you can see like the personality, okay, values, alignment rules, boundaries, like everything I'm predefining. But here it needs a hell lot of work. I'll keep you updated. Okay. And yeah, this was pretty much it. You can go and like clone this repo and even try this on your end. I'll soon be updating the installation instructions and how you can set this up locally on your end. And yeah, I guess this was pretty much about it. Let's see, a hell lot of work is yet to be done, but yeah, it's very interesting because it's for the first time that I'm trying to build this massive on my own. I don't know how successful will I be in this journey, but yeah, I'll document it everything here on YouTube. So yeah, stay tuned, keep following me, do subscribe my channel and yeah, that's it. See you soon. Bye bye.